Hello again. It's part 2 of our favorite worst villains in gaming history ever. This
And by
time it is not the
favorite
WT.
worst, we mean we hate them.
They're bad and they should feel bad.
We
But the
hate them.
difference is that last episode we talked about the WTF tier, WF tier, whatever you want to call it, the wet fart. We talked about they're not quite there. The last episode was the F tier. This one we're talking about the wet fart tier, not just the fart tier, the wet fart tier. And there's our poop humor for you, listener, the one listener out there. So today we're gonna somehow top those villains we talked about in our previous episode. Somehow, someway, somehow, Hammerhead, all the collective of the Uncharted villains and the Calypso twins are going to be topped somehow. And to start us off tonight, or in this episode, we've got Scott going. So again, with me, SM Steven Streams, Celiac_Matt, and I'm Bauer Tendo. That said, Scott, let her rip.
Cool. So, for those of you who listened to the previous episode, I really struggled with this week's topic because for me, there's good villains and then there's all the other villains that they may not be memorable, but they at least serve their purpose. Like, I'm angry, I want to take over the world, or I want to steal all the money, and it's like, all right, you're really forgettable, but you served your purpose. It takes a lot for a villain to actually be considered wet fart tier with me. Hammerhead accomplished it, and it's actually funny. This next person I'm going to talk about, there's another character I mentioned in the previous podcast episode, and I want you to try to see if you can spot the similarities between the two and why one succeeded and this one did not. So I'm going to talk about a game that I honestly would be very surprised if either Matt or Mike played. Possibly Mike, definitely not Matt. This game has been completely lost for the most part to time, mostly because Microsoft has completely abandoned the franchise. But when this game came out, I want to say around 15 years ago, this was a very controversial final boss encounter. Literally, people review bombed this game because of how bad the final boss encounter was. And I'm talking about a game called Fable 2. And again, you guys may be like, oh, cool, Fable 2, I heard of it. Never played it. So that's why I'm going to spend a little bit more time going through the boss and a little bit of the story of the game. And so without you even playing the game, hopefully you get a good idea of why this is considered wet fart tier. So let me walk you through the setting of Fable 2. You're not in London, but basically a place that's like London. And you're playing as a delightful street urchin. You know, crikey, governor. Actually, that's more Australian. Help me out, guys. Like, wait, governor? You're going to go to... I can't do
this. Here's where I get
there.
Have
you been around? It's funny because you've been around more of the world than I have.
I can do German. I can do German, and that's about it. But
here's how I do it. Just start by saying it regular. A bit sad in it. There's not. It's in it. A bit sad in it. That's how they say it.
Drop your H's.
Anywho, and
no governor.
Think of it like a UK type accent. There you go.
Okay.
We'll keep it simple.
I apologize to all 0 of the UK subscribers to this podcast. But anyway, you're a street urchin. You have a street urchin sister. You're just trying to go and make ends meet and live on the hard streets of Albion or whatever the city you're in. The mayor of the town, which actually I think he's like the ruler of the kingdom, something I don't even remember. His name is Lucien. He is very wealthy and very powerful, but also mysterious. Ooh. He invites you and your sister to his mansion in the middle of town. It's like, oh, is this going to be an Annie situation? We get adopted by the rich person? I won't go through the plot. Well, actually, I guess that's the whole point, is giving you the plot. Rich guy, wife and daughter mysteriously die. He's really, really sad. He wants to go and bring them back to life. Finds out about a magical ancient object that can grant any wish. And he wants to use his wish to bring his wife and daughter back. And you and your sister are the key to help him. Once you go to his mansion, turns out you're not as helpful as he thought you would be. So he guns down your sister in front of you in cold blood, and then tries to gun you down. Shoots you in the chest. You fall out a window from like 20 stories up, crashing down to the river. And that's the beginning of the story. You survive, you go and grow up, you become a badass, training the next 16 years to get your revenge against said boss. You do a lot of fantasy, fable-ish shit, and then eventually you get to the point when you can go and to the evil Lucien's secret lair. You go into his lair to go and rescue a very important prisoner he has. Guess what? Because he's the smart, rich, conniving mastermind, he knew you were going to break into prison. And that's pretty damn convenient that you already broke into prison because he doesn't have to go for much effort to go lock you up. Locks you up for 10 years. 10 years goes by in the game, and you have to spend a significant portion of it actually playing in the prison and being completely powerless. It is an infuriating experience and just gets you more revved up to go and murder this guy. It's like, he killed my sister in front of me, tried to kill me. Now I'm in prison for 10 years. And in the game, you do have a wife and child. You can get a wife and child. Again, it's about freedom and be able to make these choices. But most people, they go and get a family and knowing like, oh, wow, my family is now going to be 10 years older than before. So that's another thing that really sucks. You get out of prison, you do other fable-y shit. You get to the big finale in the game where you confront the bad guy. And lo and behold, again, it's, oh, I'm the smart bad guy and I'm one step ahead of you. Things happen. He goes to try to shoot you, fires his gun. Your beloved dog that follows you the entire game jumps in the way of the bullet and takes a shot for you and dies. And the bad guy's like, oh, killed your dog. Well, that sucks. Well, guess what? I also killed your family and I'm going to shoot you again. Shoots you for a third frickin' time. Or is that second time? I can't keep track of it. Again, because of plot device reasons, you do not die. You survive the gunshot wound. You make it to the epic, climatic final fight when he's about ready to use the artifact to go and make his wish to become God or whatever bullshit the story is at that point. And this is how it all ends. This is what you build up to. Evil guy speech of how what he's doing is the right thing and he's really the good guy and he's trying to go and save the world. And you? Okay, gun out, shoot him, end of game. The end of the game. There is no boss fight. There is nothing that can even be called a boss fight. You literally just pull out a gun. Within 2 seconds, boom, shot you. You're dead. Here's the thing that makes it even worse. If he's still talking and you actually take the time to listen to his entire spiel, one of the NPCs will just kill him for you. And it's just like, oh, sorry, you wanted to kill him? I got bored of listening to him talk, so I decided to do it. So you don't even ever get your revenge. And again, I have to emphasize that this game has no sort of final boss. It has no final fight. It just ends this guy who has made your life a living hell from the time you're a kid, shoots you, kills your sister, locks you in prison 10 years. And that's how they go and end the game. And I want to say this is less a fault of the character and more a fault of what was the studio. They're gone now. Lionshead, I want to say. And lo and behold, Lionshead, the game responsible for Fable 1 and all those big promises and horrible execution, manages to fuck it up again. And the very sad part is Fable 2 was actually a good game. It was legitimately a really fun game. I played all the Fable games. And they were fine, but I would definitely say the best was Fable 2. They got so much right about it, and they somehow did not know how to write a basic villain arc. If the villain screws you over, you try to go fight back against the villain gets you again, you have your final redemption, comeback, climatic, fight against the villain, you save the day, everybody dances, it's so happy. And they rob you of that. And I honestly don't know why. It was a choice that made no sense, and it just left you feeling robbed. Now, this may start coming back to some of you longtime gamers, because this was a very big controversial thing back in the day. People review bombing this game of, like, great game, horrible villain, 0 out of 10. It was very, very controversial and very, very hated. And you know what? I definitely think it's a black mark on the game's legacy, but a very well-earned black mark and a very poor story decision from it. So, that's going to be my wet fart villain for this episode. Lucien from Fable 2. I know both of you guys probably never played the game, but any thoughts on that?
I didn't know that. That sounds awful.
See, I actually knew all this. I've been trying to figure out how do I know this, and there can only be one of two reasons I know this. One is one of my friends, Ryan, a different one than you guys know, was really into Fable on the Xbox, the original Xbox. One of the few actual kind of redeeming games on the original Xbox. Or two, and this has to be the answer. I knew all this. Scott, do you know how I actually knew all this?
How did you know all this?
You freaking told me like 10 or 15 years ago this exact rant that you just had. My brain just like poof and took me back in time. I'm like, Scott has shared this with me before. Oh my gosh, I remember this now and how angry you were at the time. Like you were probably we were playing some game on Xbox 360 and you were just going off on it. I was just playing a game. I'm like, oh man, I'm glad I never played this game. Um, Anywho, that aside, one I've thought about Fable, which is I think it was Fable 3, but they had a tie-in on Xbox Live
That's
where
too.
it was 2, where it was just like casino games type deal, but like old weird fantasy casino games that I got for free. I played that so much. Those were kind of cool. They had a lot of games in there, so hey, that was neat. But two, just from what you told me, what I remember, and I actually remember the feedback against this game because this was when really the internet started to get angry about things when they didn't like, things. And I remember that feeling that you just described of like they build it all up to have nothing. That was everywhere. Scott was not alone in that. I never played it, but I think if there's anyone that played Fable 2, if anyone played Fable 2, one, let us know in the comments so you can vindicate Scott. But I guarantee anyone that does hear it is just gonna be like, yes, that was dumb. And just from a complete narrative standpoint, what you explained, they build all this evilness to be like, done. That's like Luke Skywalker going up against Vader. I'm just like, blast her to the face. Well, all right, movie's over. Bye, everybody.
You know what's funny? They probably were patting their back when they wrote this and made it. It's like, we're so clever. We are subverting expectations. Everybody's gonna think of how witty we are, of how we did the ending of this. How, I mean, I'll give it to them in one way. It definitely was unexpected. It definitely was original. But originality and being unexpected aren't always good things. You can ask our good buddy M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it really doesn't. You know, I never played it. I didn't know anything about this. This sounds awful. As you were leading up to the end, I thought this is going to be like Assassin's Creed 3 for me. Like I used to be really into Assassin's Creed games that ended with pirate game. Um but I got invested in the story, especially after Assassin's Creed 2 and how good that game was. And the end of Assassin's Creed 3 was just a giant wet fart. And it was just a big flip off to all the fans at the how it ended. But at least there was like something of a boss fight there. Like there was something at the finale. That's awful. That's awful.
And one thing I like is that it's not that the villain is bad. It's the design and the finish of the game that is bad. And I think that's a really good thing to think about. And Scott might disagree in a moment, but just from a general perspective, I haven't played the game. Let's say he was a great villain, but if you do not land that final fight, that closure, be it a good ending or a bad ending, if you can't add it, it just invalidates everything else you've done. Everything is invalidated. Like the ending is like almost as important as the motivation, if not more so. So when we talk about bad villains, we're just like, oh, their motivation's dumb. Like if, in a video game at the very least, and also in a movie and a TV show, if you cannot land the finish, if you can't land that, nothing else matters about the villain. That's all people think about.
I'm going to take it back. My choice is no longer Lucian as the wet fart villain. It's Lionhead Studios writing team.
The villain that we didn't know were villains.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Scott
That's a
somehow
pretty
got a-
darn good villain, if you ask me.
Well, hey, they got a closure. They're gone. There you go, Scott.
He literally got closure.
You won.
We all got closure.
Good lord.
All right. Well, I'm going to be due up next, and I want to pull a Scott real quick and give an honorable mention of a villain that I hate. A villain that I hate is Scott's honorable mentions. There are so many. Stop it. Anywho,
No.
my option, my villain that I hate is I don't think I'll get hate for it. I think I'm going to say it, and everyone's reaction is going to be like, "What, really?" And then you're going to stop and think of it and be like, "Yeah, you're right." I
Or
think
you'll
you're
be
right.
like me and be like, I don't really care enough to feel either way.
That's that X-Pac heat. You don't care. This is one of the world's most known video game characters, especially even more so now because a movie just dropped about it. A villain that I hate is freaking Bowser. I hate Bowser. He's a terrible villain. I freaking hate Bowser. I get the Mario games at its core, it's a casual game for everybody. Not knocking that. You don't need someone that wants to murder the world. Maybe he just wants to kidnap Peach for reasons. It doesn't matter. And that's what makes it bad. It doesn't matter. If you want to make a platforming game, make a platforming game. But you don't need a villain that you just put in the game because that's what you're supposed to do. He's a boring villain. He sucks. I care more about him in Smash Brothers than I care about him in any other single Mario game. He brings like nothing of value currently. I get it. Retrospectively, the building foundations of what you can do in a video game, yes, it's built on the Mario games. But Bowser is a crappy villain because there's no point. You don't care about him. I do not like a villain or a hero as a trope in anything. I don't like that they're just there because that's what you're supposed to do. And it's one of the reasons that my favorite Mario games are the Paper Mario games because they are unique. They have different villains. One of the villains in the game is a literal stapler. Think about that for a minute. They made a stapler a better villain than freaking Bowser. I cared more about beating this stapler than I've ever had to care about with fighting Bowser in any game whatsoever. A freaking stapler. I cared more about a stapler than Bowser. At no point do you care about Bowser as a villain. He is just part of a platforming level at this point. Oh, Bowser's in a cat suit now. I don't care. Oh, Bowser has children that apparently you can beat the same way that you beat Bowser. I don't care. And it's also weird that you play tennis and go-karting with him. I get that's the whole Nintendo bit that, hey, sorry I kidnapped your girlfriend. Let's go play tennis. That's weird. That's weird. And here's the thing that I hate the most that they changed a lot of his motivation. And I haven't seen the Mario movie. You guys can hate me or not, whatever. I haven't seen the Mario movie. But one thing they've done in that, apparently, and they've done in some of the more recent games, is it's kind of creepy. It's kind of creepy that his motivation is to kidnap Peach all the time. And in some of the more recent games and writings, it's not that he's kidnapping for any real reason other than he kind of has a crush on her. That is wrong. That is creepy. Apply that to real world situation where like, I like you. Time to kidnap. Because it's all cartoony and fun and Mario saves the day, it's okay. No, that's dumb. I hate it. Bowser is boring. He is not a good villain. A stapler means more to me than freaking Bowser. He is in the game because that's just what a Mario game calls for. He brings nothing new to the table. And the games that do something new with him, I love, like Paper Mario, even though some of the gameplay is stupid, but the writing in Paper Mario is top tier because they do new and unique things with Bowser. He is a crappy villain. And I think you all know deep down in your heart of hearts, you feel the same.
You know,
Thoughts?
I'm gonna
surprisingly,
speak
you had
before
me
Mike.
until the boring. You had me for the boring part. You lost me at the creep part, and I went, yeah, but I don't know, man. The boring part, 100%. I can't argue that. I will say it is better in because I don't think you ever played this. Bowser's Fury. It's actually it's pretty good. It's much better. That's all I'll say. You had me with boring and you lost me in the fourth quarter.
I was gonna go before Mike because I thought he was gonna pull his resident Nintendo stands on us and like defend Bowser. I was pretty impressed at how restrained he was. And you know what's really funny? Originally, I had two other villains I was gonna think about. Again, I really struggled on this, and I was thinking about like I don't like these characters. Do I have enough material to talk about them? And funny enough, one of them was Bowser because I'm actually in Team Matt. I don't like Bowser. I think he's boring. And one thing that really blew my mind that I was thinking about is this isn't all that much of a spoiler for the Mario movie for those of you who haven't seen it. But in one movie, one 90-minute movie, they gave Bowser more character development and growth, or I don't know what you want. They gave him more personality in the 90-minute movie, and then his entire 30 years of being in video games. He is literally like, I get it. Mario 1, NES game. Obviously, you're not going to go and do A+ writing on the NES. It's been 30 years. There has been no growth to this character. Look at other long-time running Nintendo franchises. Metroid, Zelda. Like, you have character growth in those games. He's like, all right, they start off simple, but hey, we give him a little more personality as things go. Bowser is still, I hate Mario. I'm going to kidnap Peach. And where are the stakes in that? if Mario just decided, like, you know what, Daisy's pretty hot. I think I'll just go call her up tonight and see what's up. Sorry, Peach. What what's gonna happen? Maybe Bowser will have some weird hybrid human turtle kids. I mean, that's the worst outcome that'll happen from
pretty
that.
hot.
Where's the stakes? There's no stakes. There's no like, oh no, the world's in peril. As far as I know, Bowser doesn't want to take over everything in the games. He just wants Peach. Now, whether that's creepy or not, whether Bowser deserves to be Me Too, that's a whole nother topic for another time. But yes, I agree. Bowser.
Me too, Bowser. I'm just picturing him getting locked up in jail now. That's what gets him done, not the mass genocide of toads. It's that.
It's that one.
He can share a cell with Harvey Weinstein. Bowser and Harvey Weinstein.
Ooh.
Well, I think we should move on from Bowser now that Scott just said that.
that we just, oh goodness. But I agree with you that Bowser, I find it funny that he has more characterization in the Nintendo Switch Online ads where he's like Bowser Dad with Bowser Jr. And you're like, oh, that's kind of sweet actually. So now it's like, him and Mario have like this like stupid like little rivalry, right? Like, oh, we're friends, but we're enemies, but we're friends. Like, they give more characterization in that. And fun fact, I don't know how true this is, but this is stuff that I've just seen floating around a lot, especially recently with the Mario movie coming out, is that Miyamoto is notorious for hating story. Like, he doesn't want story in games. And I don't Koizumi, I think his name is. The guy, the Nintendo Switch guy that came out with was wearing the Mario Odyssey hat and all that stuff. Like the guy that was like the Switch face, right? He's been with the company for a long time, and he threw. I think it was him. He threw. I don't know if it's a rumor, but in Mario Galaxy, you guys both played Mario Galaxy 1 at least, right? Oh, you didn't? Okay, well,
I did.
there were these storybook parts where Rosalina is reading to her Lumas a storybook, and it's like a fairy tale of this. It's pretty cool. That was not going to be in the game originally, apparently. And Koizumi like snuck it in under Miyamoto's radar, and then it was too late, and then they had to ship it, and so they shipped it, kind of a thing. So I'm like, I mean, that checks out. I think it's a rumor, but that checks out. Look at all the other stuff, Onuma took over Zelda, and look where they're at now. Other people took over Metroid, and look where they're at now. Even Metroid Dread was freaking fantastic in the characterization, storytelling. Dude, Samus is a badass now. Just straight up badass now, especially after Dread. And then Bowser's just Bowser. So you definitely had me at the boring part. I agree. I think I agree.
I think that the creepy bit is I just find it weird that they've consistently made that like a meme within Mario. Like Mario Odyssey, he wants to marry her. There's a full-on wedding scene. That's weird. That's weird. And apparently they're running with that now. Like at first it was like a joke on like the internet, memes, webcomics. I just find it weird that that is now incorporated. Like his character growth is, you know what? I'm not going to kidnap her. I love her. Like that's
At least they're not going the Bowsette route.
oh,
It could always be worse.
Honestly, I'd prefer. Oh, hang on. I totally thought that was something else. I thought that was something else.
No,
I hate that you just brought that up.
I was about to say Matt.
I thought
I
you were
didn't
talking
know this
about,
side
like,
of
oh,
you.
No. I thought you were talking about how they're gonna make like a female like Bowser equivalent. I'm like, oh, okay, make a lady Bowser.
Oh,
no,
no,
you're talking about something worse that I forgot existed until right now. I regret this conversation. Let's move on.
Oh,
Mike, I am ready for you to piss off a fan base. That's what
There
I'm
we go.
for.
All right.
Main event. I'm so excited.
So of all the people to piss somebody off, and it's gonna be me. You would have never guessed it. So this is a series that I actually really enjoyed at one point. I still have the first games for my PS2. I have the games on my, I think they were both on the DS. Maybe one of them was the 3DS. I played a lot of these games, and then years later, remasters of them came out, and I was like, sweet, get the collection, play them. And I realized that the games suck. They just suck. And yeah, I could say it's because of the gameplay, because the gameplay I think does suck. It has moments of brilliance. It has really cool, I guess you could call them set pieces areas. You'll know what I'm talking about once I reveal the game. But I've realized my biggest problem with these games, less so the first because the first was kind of the beginning of it all, so it was still mysterious, and as time goes on, it just gets worse, is that the villains, and I say that plural because you'll see, they're just awful. They're so awful. And the series that I'm talking about, here we go. Shield me. The Kingdom Hearts games. Specifically, who I'm talking about is Xenohort. Dumbass name.
Or like Xenofart. Got him.
Xenofart. And Organization 13, who is just a plethora of who gives a shit. Okay? Do you want to have a conversation about the word convoluted? Do you know what that word means? Do you want to know what that word means? Do you want to have a full, true understanding of what the word convoluted means? No. I'm not talking about Kojima and the Metal Gear series or any of Death Stranding looks like a masterpiece novel that deserves multiple Nobel Prizes compared to anything in the Kingdom Hearts games. Play the Kingdom Hearts games, and that feeling when you walk away, you'll go, oh, that's what convoluted means. And you will never forget it. Ever. These villains, even more so. They have no direction. But what makes me so angry about it all is that the writers of this game, the directors, whoever, whatever, they want to make you believe they have some kind of direction and aim. They have a goal. I'm here to tell you, they don't have a goal. I don't care. You can come at me and say, no, they're trying to steal hearts. They're trying to steal swords. No, they're not. No, well, they're trying to get this together. No, they're not. Well, Xenohort is actually the leader of all of this, and he's the mastermind. What does Xenohort want? I have news for you. Xenohort doesn't even fucking know what he wants. He doesn't even know what game series he's in. He probably doesn't even know his name. I barely know his name. I'm probably mispronouncing his name. It's awful. These villains, the best way I can describe them, okay? So, Kingdom Hearts is a tale of two games. The Disney stuff is actually really entertaining. That's the draw. I love fighting alongside Goofy and Donald in Search for Mickey. That's a cool storyline to me. And you go through all of their worlds together. That's cool. That's why the first game was drew me in, because it was a lot more into that stuff. And then by the end of the first game, and then just lays into it for the rest of them, Organization 13. These dumbasses who wear capes. And it's funny because they even admit that they're aimless. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They're heartless. Even the heartless in these games, which are the black creatures, some of them are big, some of them are tiny. They actually have cool designs. I'll forgive them because they're kind of just mindless. They make sense. You know what their goal is? You have a heart. We don't want you to have a heart. Simple, effective. I get it. These other goons in Organization 13 and all the other BS, they don't know what they're doing, so I don't know what they're doing. And what's funny about this is that, so I've said before that I actually enjoyed the Final Fantasy VII remake, okay? Up until the boss rush at the end where I was like, I'm not a fan of this, but whatever. It didn't break the game for me. I really enjoyed it, and I actually want to play Retrograde or whatever it's called. The update. I have it on PS Plus, whatever, so I should play it sometime. That being said, what made me do the fry squinty eye at that game was the Kingdom Hearts shit they started to bring into it. I won't get into spoilers. I won't get into that, but it looks like Organization 13. with their super edgy hoods. You can't see their faces. They're almost like ghosts. What's going on? And I immediately almost noped out of that game. I was like hours into that game and I was like, I love this. And then they showed up and I was this close to being like, cool, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. That's how awful these people are. They have awful dialogue. They have long dialogue. It's like a Kojima cutscene, but it's actually not entertaining. At least Kojima's cutscenes are entertaining in some capacity. And they are all just a bunch of Final Fantasy wannabe characters. That's what they are. So everything Disney related in these games, it's great. It's fun times. Except for Frozen, as Scott has so eloquently put before. But all the other stuff, they're fun. They're great. They're enjoyable. It's like, yeah, this is kind of cool. And then they have to bring in the other stuff. And before, the ratio was like, I don't know, like 70% Disney and 30% Organization 13 and Xenohort garbage. And now it's flipped completely. And now there's like a new Kingdom Hearts game. I think Kingdom Hearts 4 was announced and it showed Sora in like a real world or something like that or whatever. I have no desire. I have no desire whatsoever. It's garbage. And they don't know what they're aimless. They have horrible dialogue. They're wannabe Final Fantasy characters that are not anywhere near good as design. Their designs are awful. Their voice, this is not a dig. I don't want to dig at the voice actors because I know that's a tough gig. I'm not one that's sitting, doing this stuff. But damn, they suck. The lines, the recordings, the dialogue, the story elements, the writing, it's just boring, aimless, and cringe. At least the Calypso twins evoked a little bit of hate out of me. I just don't care about Organization 13. Organization 13 and Xenoheart, I don't care because you're heartless. You don't have a heart, so why do I care? You're not really living, so I don't care. That sounds awful, doesn't it? They're awful. Guys, I don't know if either of you have ever played these games. I think, Scott, you've played a couple.
Yeah.
You want to weigh on this, or is all the hate just going to come towards me this time?
Oh no, like what's really funny is again, like I was slightly considering talking about Bowser, and then for Mike, I actually was thinking about talking about the Heartless. I wasn't gonna go and say Organization 13, I was gonna go Heartless, but basically I was gonna throw in Nort or whatever the hell his name is. And
you don't even remember his name, even though I've said it. That's my point, man.
How about this? The guy who looks like the bassist from System of a Down. There, that's what I shall refer to him as. He is Shavo. But yeah, it kind of blew my mind, all the different points Mike was saying and how strongly I agree with it and how I was going to mention it. I think the thing that really bothered me about the Heartless, Xenonort, whatever, is kind of like what Mike was saying, how convoluted it was, but how you don't even really figure out what the main bad guy is after until literally the last 10 minutes of the game. I want to eradicate the world of all evil because there's too much evil in the world. And I want to restore the world to being good. And you're just like, well, you're kind of like,
do you really though?
You're like 7 games too late for that to be your goal, buddy. You wanted to go do that? How about Kingdom Hearts 1? You jumped off a bridge or something. That's what you're going for. It made no sense. It was literally, I felt like they just wrote themselves into a hole. It's like, all right, what's the most easy thing we can write as a motivation that, really has no, makes us seem like it's deep and this all had a purpose. Really? That was it? That he thought the world was evil and he wanted to go and erase it all? Like, that's what all these 7 games were about. All the crypticness, all the I'm one step ahead of you. I have this great master plan. That's what it was. That's the best you could figure out. And let's talk about the way he walks. I'm just saying, look up a video. It's creepy. I don't know why it bothers me, but it disturbs me deep down inside, just seeing the way this guy walks. It's unsettling.
I didn't even think of that, and now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I hate that too.
It is. And so I've only actually played 2 Kingdom Hearts games, and I can already hear it. All the people like, what? You never played Rebirth by Sleep and 3.6 by 7 by 8 by 9 by 5? What's wrong with you? I played 1 and I played 3. So I played the beginning and I played the end. I think that's a pretty fair sampling size. I love Kingdom Hearts 1 when it first came out. I bought it on the PlayStation 2, loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Like Mike, I bought the remaster on Xbox of 1 and 2.
1.5 plus 2.5 plus divided by
God,
6.
God, I hate their names. I hate their names so much. But I only was able to get like a hour in. I think no, I got to the Tarzan world in 1, and I was like, this game is not nearly as good as what I
I
remember.
beat
Like,
both games, Scott, in that. I
oh,
pushed through
I'm
it,
so
hoping
sorry.
it got
I'm so
better.
sorry.
It
I'm
didn't
so
get better.
sorry. And then I played 3. 3 was literally, for the most part, I'm very limited in my time when it comes to gaming. Like, I'm only going to go and spend the time to beat you if I'm enjoying this game. I think Kingdom Hearts is the only game in the past 10 years, Kingdom Hearts 3, where I did not enjoy it. But for some reason, I just went through it just because it was such a big deal. It's like, oh, Kingdom Hearts finally came out after 10 years, however long it took. And I was like, all right, well, I have to at least beat this game. It took so long for it to come out. I have to see what all the hype's about. And I did not enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the end of it. I will never honestly play it again. And yes,
I have
thumbs up,
played.
thumbs up to it being thumbs down.
I have played back in the day on the PS2, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I bought that remastered thing that they did on, I think it was the PS4, maybe the PS3. I don't remember.
PS4. PS4.
4. Beat it again. I remember going in to play it the second time. I'm just like, I don't remember this story at all. What I remember is the Disney stuff was neat and the gameplay was actually very good. The gameplay was very good in that game for me. I liked it. So then I beat it a second time and I put it down. I'm like, okay. I didn't understand it as because I think I was young at the time. I didn't understand it. I put it down as an adult and I was like, I still don't know what the hell just happened. I don't understand any of this. I don't understand why I should care. I don't know who that guy is. He's red-haired guy. That's blue-haired guy. That's bald guy. That's how I know he's the big bad because he has no hair. And that's how they tell you who the bad guy is. He's bald. Yeah, just like Scott there. That's how you know he's the worst person in the world. I have no idea the story of that game. Like the individual like Disney worlds were fun. Minus Atlantis that can drown. I don't care. That was the worst. But it was just neat going to these areas. But at no and those at least had like, okay, there's a bad guy here doing bad things to these Disney characters. Let me help them. Cool, I'm with you. But then you dive into all the weird stuff. I'm like, what is happening? So I could even tell you a single name of them, but I'm 100% in your camp that is the villains in Kingdom Hearts, like the main villains, not your sort of like Disney villains in your one little area of the entire franchise are stupid. I don't know what's going on. And I can't tell if the writers of the game thought they were brilliant or said, we're just doing this because that's what people want. It's one of the two. Either way, it was stupid.
I tried. Guys, I tried. And like I said, when I played 1 and 2 back in the day, I swore by them. I thought they were the best games in the world. I did. And then I went back and I went, "Oh, this isn't one of those moments where I go, this game still holds up. This isn't a time splitters here. This is the opposite of a time splitters." And I can forgive gameplay, I can forgive old mechanics, I can forgive that kind of stuff if the villain is worth it, or villains, or group, or the motivations there. And they don't even know their motivation. So why should I care? Kind of like what we were talking about with Fable 2. You go through this whole thing, the motivation's there, and then at the end it just robs you of the motivation. And so then you're like, well, what's the point of this game? What's the point of this? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Instead of holding out hope until the end, this game from the get-go is like, you're never going to know. And we should have seen the signs. Shame on us. Shame on all of us players. It's our fault.
I'm pretty proud of myself for having never played Kingdom Hearts 3 because my wife bought it because that was a big game for her growing up. And I will commend Kingdom Hearts. Maybe this sounds slightly chauvinistic, but it got a lot of women into gaming that previously didn't, at least growing up. Like if I had grown up, it was mainly dudes. It's still mainly dudes that play games. But if you mention Kingdom Hearts, like anywhere in like my middle or high school at the time, there's a handful of girls who are like, that's the only game that I play. I'm like, that's cool. I'm glad that was able to bring people into it. But from a narrative perspective, if you can't give the audience, the player, whatever, some form of reason as to why something is happening, what's the point? And for people that say they like the story and it's good, did you actually think all that on your own by playing it, or did you have to go online and read about it and pull things out about it? Did you
Fan
have to
fiction.
dive? Did you have to dive on your own to figure out why it's good to you? I get that it's fun to dive into lore and hints and Easter eggs for things, but if the whole game to fully appreciate, understand what's going on, if you have to dive into all this other stuff outside of its own box, something's wrong with that writing. Something's wrong with the villain. 100% with you on this one, Mike. I know Scott is as well. And if anyone disagrees or agrees, please let us know. Yell at us. We don't care. We'll fight back. Maybe you can convince us otherwise. I doubt it, but I
If
dare
y-
you to try.
yeah, so look, I will change. So hey, we're wrapping this up. You should like this video. You should subscribe. All the YouTube things. If you're listening to us, thanks. You should. I think you can subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Pocket Casts. There's a whole bunch. I'm just throwing this out to everybody in the world. All one of our listeners out there. You know, I want you to interact with us. I want you, if you can explain this story to me in a way that is captivating and makes sense from point A to point B, whatever zigzags there are, then okay, I'll back off and say I'm dumb, I'm stupid, it's a me thing. It's an open invitation, 100%, and I'm not above going back and saying that. I'm not above that. Okay. I don't think the gameplay is good, but that's a me. I already do admit that's a me thing. I don't like it. I don't like it. So hey, you should like, subscribe, and yell at us in the comments. That's what you should do because you love us, right? Because we love you. So anyway, as we wrap up here, Scott, I gotta always ask, do you have something planned for us?
Oh, do I have something for you guys?
All right. Well, without further ado, Scotty Porta Potty rant time. Let's go.
Look over there, he just doesn't care. He's going off on a crowd of people, throwing words in the air like he just don't care. He's yelling at all of us sheeple. It's a Scotty Porta Potty rant. It's a Scotty Porta Potty rant. It's a Scotty Porta Potty rant. It's rant time.
You know what really grinds my gears? Canadians. Yeah, that's right. Actually, I love Canadians. I visited Canada twice. Lovely country. I love you guys. Would gladly visit a third time. But guys, come on. You gotta admit, you got some weird stuff going on, alright? I remember when I visited Canada, and it kind of was like a bizarre US. Like, I would think I was in the United States, but then I would see something very unsettling. It's like, alright, this is kind of weird. I feel like I'm in some type of Rick and Morty episode, alternative reality. First off, your milk. Who was it in Canada that was like, hey, I tell you what, how about we go and put our milk in bags instead of cartons? I don't know about you, but that sounds like a good idea, What? Why would you put your milk in bags? That doesn't make any sense. Do you put like your orange juice in bags too? Or do you have those in cartons? Why does it make more sense to go and put milk in a bag versus I don't know. Your Canadian bacon. It's not bacon. It's ham. And you don't see us going around calling our bacon American bacon. It's just bacon. Why do you have to attach your name to it? Like, come on, guys. Us Americans are pretty damn egotistical, and we don't even pull shit like that. And finally, it's pronounced decal, not decal, all right? The metric system is dumb. It's all about the imperial system. And I love you guys. I do. But come on. You got to search in your heart and realize you're on the wrong side of history, bros. You got to go and come on and get to those cartons. Start pronouncing those words right. Get back to imperial. I believe in you guys, and I love you. But most of all, God bless the United States of America.
I guarantee you, we have several Canadians that are listening to this right now. I would like them to respond to this, please. Please respond to this for Scott. I must hear.
I love Canada. Like your dish, I forget what it's called. The French fries with the gravy and cheese curds. Poutine is literally the greatest thing I ever eaten. When I visit, last time I visited Canada, I was there for only one day. British Columbia, Vancouver. I had it like 4 times. in one day. So please don't please. I'm not a typical ignorant American. Hopefully, you know, I'm coming from a place of love. I love you guys. I just want you to be better.
I want you to know, Scott, before I came in here, before we were wrapping up our Ted Lasso and coming here to record, there was the King of the Hill episode where he gets the Canadian, where Boomhauer switches with the Canadians. And so they have like the lawnmower face off and everything. And Canada's better. America's better. You are Hank Hill. You are Hank Hill.
I'm
That's all I
Hank
gotta
Hill.
say.
You know what? There's worse people to be than Hank Hill. I tell you what.
All right. Well, for those people that were subscribed, please stay subscribed. We know who you are. You know who you are. Stay subscribed, please, and yell at Scott. You can go ahead and yell at Scott. I'm not going to say anything about anything.
Canada, I pledge my life to thee, or however your song goes. I love you guys.
Song. Oh man. Well, anyway, we appreciate you listening. What are your WF tier game villains? What are the worst of the worst? Let us know after you're done yelling at Scott in the comments. Like, subscribe, check out SM Stevens streams, you know, for when he starts streaming. You know what game he's going to stream. Celiac_Matt streams on Twitch Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then random other times. And you can follow me on Twitch as well, Bauer Tendo. I usually stream Mondays, Tuesdays, and go from there. So we appreciate you, as opposed to some other people in this podcast. At least Matt and I appreciate you. We appreciate you. You the best. And until next time, bye.